And that's why it can't cope, sorry. And the other thing was, it's not just Muslims that are suffering in Palestine, it's also Christians, another minority within a minority. And I think that we should always look for detail and also raise questions about the teaching or the deleting of history. Is chronic, and you know, in the media there's so much that's available, so many documentaries, and yet there's nothing screened on the TV that gives us any understanding as to, you know, the history of current events.
Okay. No, it's a very good point. We can take another 2 questions, yeah.
I'm just wondering, I want to refer actually to 3 of you. Do you think, is there any hope? I mean, not another Barack Obama, just...
Good, I'm glad you don't mean that.
Now, once you've been doing this touring around the world, do you see that more people coming? There is a fact of your talks and this nice propaganda, I would say.
Okay, and final question, Manny.
I just want to say how important it is to hear the arguments that both Ijan and Dr. Meyer are making, because it's one of the most powerful tools that we have in the West to hear this. And you mentioned that Balfour, the anti-Semite Balfour, was so important in the establishment of Israel, and equally the continuation of Israel as it exists is so dependent on America that when the speaker from Ijan refers to these other struggles, I think it is all part of the same imperial logic.
Yeah.
And that therefore, you know, the importance of what you say, of linking up, and I do believe that across the world people have changed in the last years over the war that's been happening. They have seen how America has used this argument, how the people have actually changed on that, and people's opinions about Palestine have changed. And so therefore, you know, I think that what you're doing is an incredibly important thing, because it unmasks the ideological lies that our rulers make, but also it opens it up for us to make our activities here so much easier, whether it's the boycott, the academic boycott, which we still have to do a lot of work on, but it would be fantastic to develop that further, because that kind of solidarity, you know, people have talked about the solutions, but it's going to be an international solution. It's going to be a solution of radicalism across the world that is going to change that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're in the Irish anti-war movement, we've got a meeting on one-state solution, and I think that it's going to be on an international measure. So thank you very, very much for coming, and I think it's very, very moving what you say.
Thank you. So, I think we'll take the question, which is a good question to end on, which is there any hope? And so I'll start by asking Dr. Meyer.
May I also have a short comment on the first lady? You mentioned a book which I didn't know, but I always refer to a German Jewish philosopher of history, Theodor Lessing, who wrote a book, History as making sense of something which has no intrinsic sense in itself. So that comes very near to what you said, and that is one of my favorite, which one of my inspirations to write, to have written my books about it. Okay, is there hope? That is a very difficult question. I think it is for the Palestinians. It's imperative to retain hope. On the other hand, it is, I think, imperative for them to learn as much as possible and to emigrate if they have learned something, in order, because I think they can be of more help from the outside than from inside the biggest prison of the world. So
But that's what the Israelis want.
Huh?
That's what the Israelis want.
I'm
just
know.
joking, man.
No, you are absolutely right. But what can they do from the inside? What can they do? But if they have had a good education and can write and can be active, they can do more than from the inside. From inside, an inmate in a closed concentration camp or prison can do very, very, very little.
But
That's one.
what is different today than, in comparison to the Auschwitz camp, what is different today is that they have mobile phones, they have internet.
Yeah, but they also have chaos and no electricity and no pure water and an epidemic can break out. And the Nazis were more afraid of the epidemics which might break out in these terrible cages where we were in, that they were very meticulous in keeping the hygiene. And we have hot and cold water every day. That's the Palestinian in Gaza miss. And I mean, I had too little to eat, but I had regular meals. They don't.
Is there any more hope?
I've already done so.
I mean, I think Zionism really does this thing of reducing like all of the problems of the world to this question of anti-Semitism, or reducing the Nazi genocide to the question of anti-Semitism. And in fact, it's a much bigger question. It's a question of for all humanity. And I think that there's the hope lies in the fact that we're really the majority. Those of us who stand for our collective humanity, those of us who, as Hajo said, share empathy for each other, we are the majority in the world. And our power comes in how we do connect with each other's histories, because so many of us have been under attack. And I think that, Haider Eid spoke the other day. We were able to establish a telephone link, and he talked about the children of Gaza. Once they heard about Haiti, the children of Gaza started a collection to send to the children of Haiti. And I think Hajo and that, as well as so many other examples that we can't forget, is the amazing ways that our humanity survives such barbarianism. And it was the other day in London when Hajo spoke, we organized about 8 to 10 speakers who talked about their resistance to genocide, from the Irish famine to Bangladesh, from Sri Lanka to Native American, from Armenians to Gypsies. And it was hard to sit there and hear how similar states, particularly states, nations, and empires, destroy people, and the similarities in those genocides. But equally important was to hear the stories of resistance and resilience, and really hear the true solidarity that everyone spoke with for each other's struggles. And it feels like this is the way forward. And I think the hope lies in the fact that increasingly Israel is getting exposed, increasingly the United States is getting confronted and exposed, and that our ability to build our relationships with each other and organize together, I agree. I think Palestine is a very important focal point, because the struggle over control of the world is being negotiated in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Iran, in Pakistan, and Israel and Palestine are at the center of that, because Israel remains the European-U.S. outpost there. But I also think that the Palestinians we organize with in the United States are increasingly building bridges with the Native Americans in the United States who are facing colonization, the African Americans who are facing displacement across urban centers. And this, to me, is the way forward. We have to find the places where what we have to win is in